All right, welcome back, guys, to another installment of Cryptic Heathens. Today we have our first video over conversation about blank. Today it just so happens to be about Islam, but this will be a reoccurring video thread every Wednesday on the Wednesday. Joining me as always, we have the big, the brown, deplorable.
It's your favorite Islamphobe. I am anti-Islam if you would like to know my viewpoint.
All right, and everyone's favorite third way feminist, the nasty woman.
Hello. I'm pro-Islam, obviously. I'm the opposite of deplorable. Everything he stands for, I do not. Linda Sarsour is my hero. That's all I have to say.
Man, what a woman.
Thank you. I try.
And finally, as always, we have me, one of the many hosts here, Kmart Caesar. And I'm just kind of a healthy mix. I'm kind of a healthy mix of Islam.
Gotta have a
So,
nice mod right here.
Gotta have a
Yeah.
gotta have a nice intermediate Islam. We'll
Somewhere
call
in
it
the
that.
middle, but also more on my side.
We don't know that yet, to be fair.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
when you're losing,
I'm gonna have to say I'm more on her side. Anyways,
Okay, fair enough.
let's just get going with it, shall we? Basically, what we have for you here is a series of questions we're all going to be debating about for a few minutes at a time. And yeah, none of it's too scripted. The point is just for us to have fun with some intellectual conversation, and hopefully you guys take something away from this. All right, so let's get the questions rolling, I guess. Question number one. Okay. Just as clarification, if these sound a bit biased or anything, they were written by our good friend Deplorable here, the anti-Islam. So if they
Guilty
do
as charged.
sound inherently biased one way or the other,
it's because they are.
it's because they are.
Pro-Islam questions right there. Guilty as charged.
All right. So let's start off with the first question that Deplorable claims to be unbiased. Is Islam a bad religion?
No.
Partially.
No.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I don't think we should say any religion's a bad religion. But I mean, especially Islam, this is our second video. I don't want to have a jihad declared on our channel 2 videos in.
They're gonna
Okay,
shoot up our
you know
channel.
what it is?
Let's just be.
The literal translation of jihad is struggle, and Muslims teach the great jihad is the fight within to do right and wrong. So you're using the word incorrectly to begin with.
Or it's
I'm
also
using
been turned
word-
into a war against capital Western democracies.
I'm using the word in the modern
what it's
fashion
become.
that actual Muslims use the word in. So I mean, if
Okay,
you want to get
sure.
technical and go back like thousands of years to the origins, then yeah, sure, Islam's a peaceful religion and jihad just means struggle. But it's 2017. Wake the fuck up.
Hold on, nasty woman. By
Alright,
that
and
logic,
also,
wouldn't gay still mean happy?
I mean, it has a double meaning now.
Yes,
Kind
there's
of
also
a-
a double meaning for
Anyway,
jihad.
kind of a
Go
dumb
back
point
to
that didn't
the-
need
to
to be
the
there.
question, is Islam a bad religion? As I said, no. To speak from my perspective, I am an anthropology and history major. And for me, culture is a very big part of my life and the study of it and the experience of it. And I find that culture is never inherently bad. And a people's belief set is never inherently bad. It's a learned behavior. So to call a religion bad is to call a people bad. And honestly, as I would say, probably a more liberal thinker, I don't think that people are ever inherently bad. I think that they are taught that through struggle and through life, and religion's never bad. Just to put that out there. Now, the way people act with religion can be used as a tool of I guess you could say, evil. But the religion in and of itself is not bad. People are, or they can be, if that makes any sense.
I mean, you're definitely right with people aren't inherently evil and they can learn it, especially through a holy book. I mean, the Old Testament has some things about killing people that are gay, all that good jazz. I don't think we'd be arguing that the Old Testament is culturally good. I mean, it does call for in the Quran the people of Lot, who were a homosexual people, to be killed and to be punished for their crimes against Allah.
Let me just say, nothing is culturally bad. Right.
That's what I inferred. I mean,
I don't think culture is inherently good or bad. Culture is culture.
It's kind of fluid, to be honest.
The way people perceive it, they can perceive it to be good or bad. But I mean,
I suppose
that's all this conversation is personal perception here. So if someone wants to say it is bad, then I mean that's just their personal perception, and we can't label as a people an entire ideology as inherently good or bad. Because I mean, who are we to say whether something is good or bad to the people that practice it when we don't actually practice it? Who is anyone, honestly, to say something is good or bad? What works for some people works for them, and that's great. What works for others works for them, and that's great. What works for us here in the Western world isn't necessarily what works for them over in the Middle East, and wherever they practice.
That's a fair point. Here's what. Oh God, I actually forgot my point. So, nasty woman, you go on while I rethink what I was gonna say.
Okay. So basically,
piggyback.
To reiterate what you said, is Islam a bad religion? Not necessarily our place to say. So what do you think?
Oh yeah. Now I remember what I was gonna say. I'm not gonna sit up here and say that all Muslims are bad. Definitely not. I just think broadly, if you follow the book, which a lot of those Islamic majority countries do, it is bad. What the laws they enact with how that religion is set up, it's bad. I'm not going to say that Western Muslims are bad, because generally they're not. I mean, some of the moderate Muslims, they might just simply dislike gay people, or just there's some certain Sharia laws they might have an affinity towards. But I'm not going to sit up here and say that all Muslims are bad. That's why I said partially, because it depends. Not everything's black and white. There's some gray areas.
And I think I'll respond more to your argument when we get to the third question. But I actually respect that you say that not all Muslims are bad. It's very respectable of you.
No, yeah, I'm not going to sit up. I'm not a lunatic. I'm not going to sit up here and say that all Muslims are bad. Not all Christians are bad. Not all Buddhists are bad. Not even. Well, I'm not going to sit up here and say that all Nazis aren't bad, because if you take Nazi, the ones that actually, that's a different conversation. I'm not even going to get into that.
I mean, not necessarily. Not all Nazis were bad. A lot of them were forced into it through.
No, yeah, okay, yeah, no. I was taking it from if they actually believe the principles.
Point,
yeah.
How about we move on to the next question?
No, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Oh boy. This is a good one. Hold on to your seats, kids.
Oh, I'm ready.
Is Islam a feminist religion? Now, nasty woman, before you start inaudibly screeching, just take a second, take a deep breath.
No.
And make sure to articulate your point.
All right.
Let me pull up my hadith real quick.
You're the worst, and I hate you.
Thank you.
I'll give you a brief overview of my points. Anyone that has looked into the historical context of Islam would actually find that Islam were the practitioners of Islam and the countries that Islam thrived in. They were the first pioneers of women's rights. If you look 1400 years ago, women had rights in Islam that Western women didn't even know existed until 100 years ago. They have the ability to own their own property. They can vote. They're not only can they go to school,
certain countries
in the past, historically, this is
historically. I didn't hear you say historically. My bad.
Yeah. Actually, if we want to talk present day, there are actually more Muslim women in Islamic universities than men. That's just a statistic. Don't believe me, you can look it up. But anyway, so historically, Islam has always been a religion for the women. If you look in the Quran at just quotes there, you can see that that's true.
Quran.
From 972, it says, Allah has promised the believers, men and women, gardens under which rivers flow, to dwell therein, and beautiful mansions and gardens of everlasting bliss. And there are a lot of verses that are like that one that basically just reiterate the equality of the sexes. And even the prophet himself was very keen on making sure that women were treated well. He said to the men of the religion, quote, "The best of you are those who are best to their wives," as in, close quote, as in best in treatment. So historically, Islam has always been for women, and that's just very blatant. And honestly, it hasn't been until recent years that we've really seen that fundamentalist crackdown on women and on women's rights. And that's what's really scary to me, is that a religion that for so long had, and just a culture that for so long has just been so female centric, is kind of throwing that away for some radical notions. And it's new, and I'm not saying that it's bad, and I'm not saying that the radicalization of that is not anti-feminist, because it is. It is sexism at its purest, and it is horrifying. But the religion in of itself does not teach those principles.
Muhammad actually did. The Quran, like, Sharia is derived from Muhammad's teachings as well.
In the Hadith,
as the
it's
Quran.
derived from the Hadith. The Quran, it also is partially derived from the Quran, but I believe it is mostly derived from the Hadith, which is also a Muslim text. I'm just making sure people know that. You're not wrong. I was just helping you out.
The Sharia law is cast from the actions and words of Muhammad, which are called Sunnah in the Quran, which he dictated.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's where it comes from. It's literally from the horse's mouth. And so, I mean, history is cool and all. Like, that's neat. But I mean, 1400 years ago, you could say the fucking British were advanced because their castles had ceilings.
Okay, but it wasn't just like 1400 years ago women had rights. It was 1400 years ago and continuing on. And it's still like, it wasn't until, again, like I said recently, with the radicalization and the overtaking of these states. And again, I don't actually believe that it is the religion and of itself that is sexist, that is acting this out. I think it's the state, which again we'll get into with question number 3. But it's the state and it's the governments that are actually showcasing these sexist beliefs, that are actually oppressing these women.
Well, I mean, someone has to carry out the actual order of Sharia, of Muhammad's teachings, of the Quran. Because, I mean, your priest can't.
Don't you think someone would fact check these governments if they weren't following Muhammad's word?
Well,
like one of the Muslims that maybe
they
has
are
internet
the fact
access?
checkers. I mean, when they're the people that have the weapons, when they're the people that have the powers, what are you going to do against them? You speak out against them, you get hung. I mean,
according to Sharia is the thing.
Yeah, I mean, literally everyone in those countries, I would say at least 95% or more, has a Quran, has a Hadith, and they can read this. And don't you think if they were being lied to by the government, they would at least band together and we would at least hear about it? Like, the government just mass murdered a bunch of their people because they dared to disagree.
Okay, the thing is that we have seen people banding together, but they aren't the people that you're thinking of. We're seeing radicalized groups banding together, and they're spreading terror across, the Middle East. And we see these groups of people fleeing, trying to escape that oppression, trying to get away from that. And honestly, a lot of what countries have been doing is turning them away because they're scared of terror.
Besides Germany, where when they accept them, they have a refugee crisis where crime rises and rape is more prevalent. But yeah.
Okay, well, the point is that we have people escaping. They're trying to flee these radicalized groups that have risen up, that have taken over these states, these fundamentalists who take Sharia law very, very literally and who enforce it to their very last breath, to the point of just utter oppression and utter totalitarianism, and just, I'm just in a state of disbelief, honestly, over the state of things over there. And
you're in a state of disbelief.
I'm not. It comes from the religion.
Because these people are carrying out orders from the Old Testament of the Quran.
Can I read out a few hadiths real quick? I have a few hadiths here. I would like to read that are from the most feminist religion out there. So, Allah's apostle said, if a husband calls his wife to bed, in parentheses, if you don't know, i.e. to have sexual relations, and she refuses and causes him to sleep in anger, the angels will curse him in the morning, curse her till the morning. So basically telling you have to accept your husband's decrees to sexual intercourse. Women should not speak unnecessarily in the presence of foreign men. I'm just going to summarize these. Women should not travel without mahram, which is her husband or a man with whom that woman cannot marry at all, according to the Islamic jurisprudence. I can't really read that. Angels curse the disobedient wife. Women should not donate from her money unless upon husband's consent. Women should help her husband and his dependents at any time he asks. Hold on. Women should not wear tight clothes. Women should not wear false hair like the Jews. Women should not wear high shoes. Hold on. I took some unnecessary screenshots here. Women should not shave their heads. Women should cover her face in the presence of foreign men. And actually, that one is from straight from Allah, I believe. That one, at least. And women should not imitate men in dress, movements, and ways of speech. This is from the Hadith. These are summarizations. Yeah. I can definitely read off the quotes as well. But we definitely don't have time for that, but I'm welcome to.
If I may. A lot of religions and a lot of cultures have always been like that, where you've just...
Yes, and I will criticize them as well.
Yes, exactly. And I'm saying Islam has, while you have Sharia law, seen the manifestation of it. Typically, it's manifested in different ways. So fundamentally, you would see the execution of all of those principles, and you would see a strict execution of them, to say the least. But also, historically, we look at Islam, and typically their women were treated the best. Like, for example, if a man was heard in the street talking poorly about a woman, he would get his hand chopped off because, it just wasn't acceptable. They respected women in that society. And so, looking at an ancient text and saying this is how the modern people act isn't true. While, yes, there is radicalization, and we do see a lot of fundamentalist interpretations of Sharia law in the Middle East now.
That isn't a fundamentalist interpretation, what I just read off. That is straight from the horse's mouth. Like, those are not feminist ideas.
Listen, that doesn't represent the majority. In fact, if you were to ask a lot of actually feminist leaders, a lot of them are in fact Muslim women. Take, for example, one of my favorites, Linda Sarsour.
Hold on, before you bring her up, I would like to mention that she is not born in those countries. She was born and raised in Brooklyn. She didn't experience that pressure of all the Islam around her. She had it in her household, but she also grew up around Western ideals, Western ideas, Western philosophy, Western secularism.
All right. Well, if I may, to her, she says that Sharia law is simply, it's not eating pork, it's dressing modestly, and it's living an honest Muslim life. And to a lot of Muslims, that's what Sharia law is. And I think it was actually, you posted on Twitter, on your personal account, it was maybe a retweet, and it was like 1960s, and I believe it was Pakistan, and it was women wearing, like shorter skirts and like
t-shirts. No, I did not tweet that or retweet it.
I could have sworn it was a retweet. No, and then it was modern day.
If I saw it, I would definitely retweet it and tweet it, because that is almost inherently contradictory to modern Islam in just Islam in general.
That's exactly what I'm getting at. And then modern day you see...
And Islam in general is also what I said.
And women in burqas. And again, that's what I was getting at, is that it hasn't been until recently that we've seen this intense radicalization and this intense oppression of women. That is a recent thing. That is not something that's been around forever, and it's not something that's been practiced forever at all.
Wow,
How long have burqas
people
been
are
around?
actually practicing their actual religion now.
Yeah.
Weird. When you say Sharia law, according to most people, is just not eating pork, dressing modestly.
No, it's
whatever
from
you,
the Hadith.
whatever you say it was. That's cool. Like, it doesn't really matter what someone's interpretation of Sharia law is. That's like looking at a bush and saying, a bush is really just about being a plant. Like, cool. You're kind of right, but a bush is not a tree. It's not a sunflower. A bush isn't, a vine. A bush is a fucking bush. Okay, so what? Maybe a poor analogy there.
No,
But
I totally understand what you're saying.
What I'm getting at is, yes, that is a small part of Sharia's law, but when faithfully carried out, like we're seeing many of these predominantly Muslim countries doing.
That's the thing. It's not many. It represents. It doesn't even represent a majority of the Muslim population in the world. And
Okay, that's the thing, though. The majority of the Muslim population in the world is spread out.
Yes.
Predominantly Muslim countries aren't many. It's not like Christianity, where you have all of these countries converting in massive numbers. While Islam is the second largest religion in the world, it like in today's world, comparatively, very few countries are predominantly Muslim.
Yeah.
And
hold on. I have a point. Real quick. I have one point.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's the thing. These Muslims that are being born in other countries, they are not being surrounded by Sharia law. They're not being surrounded by people who predominantly believe in Islam. Islam only makes up 1% of the United States population's religious belief. So when you're born in a Western society that has secularism and all those values, I can't say that word for the life of me, but when you have all of those values, Western democracy, Western progress, these people start interpreting their book like that. But when you're born where the book is taken directly, that's when you get Sharia law and these government officials that are implementing Sharia law, because they are born together. People that are born together will think together. They're going to think just like their book told them. They're going to throw gays off rooftops because the book told them. They're going to chop people's hands off for stealing because the book told them. They're not going to report a rape. They're not going to accept a rape unless a woman has 4 witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
Due to what comes from that book.
And again, it's like I said, what you're talking about is not the majority. And you're talking about states that have been taken over by radicalized fundamentalist groups that, yes, we have reason to fear. And yes, they are bad people inflicting horrible injustices upon women and, upon anyone that even slightly disagrees with them. But again, we can see that is not the majority, because obviously there are millions of people fleeing those regions to get away from those radicalized groups, to get away from those oppression, because guess what? They don't actually agree with that. Because guess what? Growing up in that and living in that environment constantly wasn't actually something they agreed in, wasn't actually something that they enjoyed. And they are trying to get away from that grief-stricken oppression to escape into freedom. And what do? We deny them entry. We tell them to deal with it because we don't like their religion, because we don't like the oppression that was placed upon them.
I don't think I ever justified the travel ban, as if that's what you're getting at.
I really expected more from you on this. Come on. You're really trying to say millions of people are fleeing because of an oppressive regime. That's what you're saying? You're saying because people don't like how their religion's being interpreted, that's why they're fleeing?
the interpretation of their
51%
religion
of
has
U.S.
been
Muslims want
Hold on,
Sharia law.
hold on. Let her answer.
Okay.
Let her
the,
answer.
the interpretation of their religion over there, at least as far as we've seen in the media coverage here in America, has been violent. It has been bloody. It has been oppressive. Of course, they're trying to flee that interpretation. Why wouldn't they?
No,
They're not fleeing for that reason. If you're talking about Syria, sorry, continue.
Millions of people aren't fleeing because their religion is being interpreted a way they don't like. Because under Sharia, anyone who denounces the religion is subject to death. That's not why they're fleeing. They're not denouncing their religion in mass numbers. They're fleeing because they don't have a fucking home because a bomb got dropped on it. They're fleeing.
If you're talking about Syria, he's correct.
War torn.
They're bringing their ideas over. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. My bad.
It's fine. The point is, they're not fleeing because they don't like how their religion's being interpreted, because it's no new interpretation. This is straight from the Quran. Okay? They're fleeing because, yes, this radical regime of ISIS, ISIL, whatever you'll call them, it's because they, like Al-Qaeda, have become a very prevalent threat in the Middle East, and have even taken it farther. It's not to get on another tangent. It's like Black Lives Matter. There's just no constructiveness with it. They're just destroying their own cities, and for what?
Exactly. I want to piggyback off that real quick. They're not leaving because their religion is being interpreted in a wrong way, or even because they think they're being oppressed by their religion. They think it's normal. They don't see anything wrong with it. If you look at Syria and Aleppo and all those places, when they're being bombed...
What's Aleppo?
Yeah. Okay, Gary Johnson. When they're being bombed and their homes are being destroyed by ISIS, Russia, ISIS, and I forgot the other country that's also involved with those bombings. I will definitely throw a thing on the screen that'll fact correct me. When they're fleeing those places, they're going into Germany, and there's a crime increase in Germany, and there's a refugee crisis, and Germany is falling apart because they're bringing their ideals. They're bringing their ideas, their religion, all of that. They're bringing it into Germany. They're not leaving their religion there. They're not trying to escape oppression, or they don't see it as oppression. They're trying to escape so they can actually get a home, so they can actually practice their religion and force it onto other people.
Okay, I wouldn't say force it on other people necessarily. But, the reason that so much of that violence is happening there, and all of, the reason that they are losing their homes is because ISIL, again, whatever, has decided to use Islam, that religion, as a tool for violence and as a tool for oppression. Again, something that until recently we hadn't seen, at least not to this scale, at least not in this way. So the reason they're losing their homes, the reason that there is so much war and violence, is because of that interpretation of using that tool as, a method of bloodshed. So while, yes, their ideals may not be, as Western, honestly, as we'd like them to be, as pure and unoppressive as we'd like them to be, it's also not to the point of that radicalization, of that violence. Clearly, because otherwise they'd be participating in the violence, right? Not running away from it.
I don't think I met my force upon. They're attacking their own people is why they don't agree with them. They still want to have laws where you can't report a rape if you're a woman unless you have 4 witnesses. If ISIS wasn't attacking their own people, I think they would probably find them more favorable. But Caesar, you were saying something?
Yeah, just a couple quotes directly from the Quran to kind of refute that nasty. Quran 2:191 says, "And kill them wherever you find them, and turn them out from where they have turned you out." Anyways, cut the scripture right there. That's basically the piece of scripture.
He's talking about like atheists, right? And that, I believe that was the atheist one.
He's talking to the he's saying the al-fitna, which is disbelief, is worse than killing. So basically, if you denounce it, that's even worse than killing someone. So kill them first.
Yeah, which is why
Also-
blasphemy is a crime punishable by death. They don't
Also-
they don't find it.
Okay, yeah, Quran 2:191 says, "And kill them wherever you find them, and turn them out from where they have turned you out." And al-fitna is worse than killing, but if they desist, then lo, Allah is forgiving and merciful. Anyways, you can go ahead and cut the scripture there. It's basically a call to arms to kill. The al-fitna referenced is disbelief or unrest. Now, to answer the other part of something you brought up, which is why aren't we seeing all these Islams fighting, right? Nasty.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Quran 2:216 says, "Fighting is prescribed for you, and ye dislike it. But it is possible that ye dislike a thing which is good for you, and that ye love a thing which is bad for you. But Allah knoweth, and ye know not." Go ahead and cut it there. Not only does the verse establish that violence can be virtuous, but it also contradicts the myth that fighting is intended only in self-defense, since the audience was obviously not under any sort of attack. From the Hadith, we can see that this verse was narrated at a time that Muhammad was actually trying to motivate his people into raiding things like merchant caravans, like highway bandits, simply for loot. So, yes, they, Allah essentially tells them, listen, guys, listen. I know you don't want to fight, but listen, I know it's best. Okay, and you gotta fight. But he acknowledges that they do indeed not like it.
Jesus
Okay,
Christ, nasty
so-
woman, can you stop molesting your mic?
Okay, sorry. So what you're saying is basically kill the blasphemers, right?
Well,
Like,
that
that's what
was
you're
the
saying.
first part. Kill the blasphemers.
Okay.
Second part was, hey, listen, you're supposed to fight, even though you don't like it. But listen, Allah knoweth, and ye not know.
Okay, well, I
Which
would
basically
actually
is
like to-
continue.
I would like to respond to that actually going into the next question, which is,
Which is question number 3: Is Islam compatible with modern secularism or the belief of separation of church and state?
Okay, so to respond to your question, again, we're going to go look back in the olden days of the Ottoman Empire. Within the Ottoman Empire, they had these things called, what were they? They were like, I want to say the word was minets, but I may honestly be using the wrong word. But basically,
Hey, real quick, just for reference.
millets. It was millets.
Real quick, just for reference. When
Yes.
was the Ottoman Empire abolished or formally disbanded?
Couldn't tell you. I want to say it was
1918, after World War One. I don't
Okay.
know if 1918 is the actual year, but after shortly after World War One.
I knew. It
Yeah, no,
was
they fought in World War
earlier
One
rather
because
than
you
later.
had Lawrence of Arabia, right? Was he from the
Oh,
Ottomans?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So they were disbanded shortly after World War One.
Yes.
What year is it right now?
2017.
2017, which
All right,
also,
just for reference.
which again goes into my point of this recent thing that we've been seeing. But never mind. To get back to what I was saying, they had these things called millets. So basically, within the empire, they allowed religious freedom, meaning that they weren't killing the supposed blasphemers, but rather everyone operated under their own government. So the Christians in the empire had their own Christian government. The Muslims in the empire had their own Muslims governments. The Jews had their own Jewish government, and so on and so forth, right? And they abided to those laws. The only time that Muslim law would ever really step in was if it was a Muslim that was actually, causing the trouble, or if it was between two of those millets, in which case the judge would decide best, based on both of the laws at hand, both of the people in the situation. So basically, within the empire that was was ran by Muslims, that was overwhelmingly, like, that was the majority. We saw that they were practicing religious freedom and they were cooperating within that environment. They weren't killing the blasphemers. They weren't going to war with these people that disagreed with them. It was a peaceful existence within a society where religion and women and just people were celebrated regardless of those differences. So again, it's not Islam. It's the people, it's the culture that they create, and the culture they've created surrounding Islam nowadays in the Middle East is radical and it's scary, but it's not inherent to the religion.
Okay, cool. They don't follow their book anymore. Mormons don't believe in, a lot of them don't believe in polygamy anymore. I mean, like, does that mean that more, I forgot what I'm saying, but, like, does that mean that the Mormons are, like, they are less religious? Yes, actually, if they don't follow their book.
The Mormons, my family is Mormon, and actually there is a sect of Mormons that do practice polygamy still. They're called the Fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. Which again, thank you for proving another one of my points of fundamentalist interpretations. I appreciate you.
Wasn't Joseph Smith into polygamy?
He had a wife, Emma.
I'm pretty sure he was actually run out of his state due to polygamy.
Are you really going to debate a Mormon about Mormonism?
No, I'm not. I was trying to bring up an analogy, but I forgot midway through what I was saying.
Okay. My point is, again, fundamentalist interpretations. All right, if you're going back to the old days with the old book and you're taking it very, very literally, then yeah. But I'm saying that Islam has not always been that way, and the Ottoman Empire is proof of that. One of the biggest prosperous empires the world's ever seen. So
they didn't follow their book. That's all I gotta say. They didn't follow their book.
Okay, and now
they follow their book. Now they follow their book.
They follow their book to a T. Whereas it's not that they didn't follow their book; it's that
would mean Islam is a bad religion, and it is not compatible with modern secularism.
They kind of Linda Sarsour, where they were like, "Listen, we'll just dress modestly and not eat pork." But I mean,
all the other pages of the book, throw them out. We can burn them. We don't need those pages of the book. It's more of a lifestyle than a religion, am I right? Yeah.
A religion is a lifestyle. I don't understand what you're getting at.
I was just joking. I don't know. It was a joke. I didn't mean the last part.
I didn't mean
it. But anyway, but going into this idea of, can Islam be separate of church or state, going back to like the core of the question in itself. My answer to that would be, honestly, as much as any religion with a majority religious population can be separate. Now, I would say in the Eastern world, they are more inclined to have more theologic governments and theological practices. Whereas in the Western world, you're not as inclined. But you can't actually tell me that, our government in of itself is not influenced by Christianity. So I think there is no real such thing as separation of church and state when you have an overwhelming religious majority within that supposed state. But I would say, because Muslim is more prevalent in the Eastern world, I would say they are more inclined within that sense to have a more combined church and state.
Here, hold on.
Like
did you want to go?
Well, did you have like something directly on that?
Yeah, but you can continue. I kind of forgot my point. Go ahead.
Okay, talking about modern day secularism though, so let's reference it to something everyone's going to get, well, the majority of our viewers, which is like American secularism. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to that, God is pretty much everywhere in America, which honestly, like, kind of disgusts me as someone who, really enjoys that people can exercise the freedom of religion here. which, I mean, I'm all about God. Uh, I'm God and me are pals, but I mean, no Muslim person should have to stand up and pledge their allegiance to a nation under God when we were founded upon the freedom of religion. Anyways, I'm going on a fucking tangent.
I mean, I actually kind of
pray to
disagree
the
with you
same
on that.
God.
To be honest, that's
we
a separate
do pray
point.
to the same God.
Yeah.
We're both Abrahamic religions, so we're praying to the same God. So when they pledge allegiance to God, they are pledging.
Okay.
I think God is in America is
okay,
whatever you interpret it to be. To be honest, I gotta disagree on that.
It's disgusting to me that a Scientologist has to stand up and pledge their allegiance to God when
Cthulhu.
when they pledge
Cthulhu.
when they pledge their allegiance to
Tom Cruise.
Right?
Who do they pledge their allegiance to? It's some alien monster, right? I believe it
yeah,
is.
it's
It's not Cthulhu.
oh shit.
Cthulhu is someone else.
Cthulhu is a fictional
It's
beast.
no, it's
Oh,
it's
yeah,
Xenu, that's who it is.
Xenu! My
Yeah,
boy.
why
boy.
aren't why aren't we one nation under Xenu?
Xenon 21st century
You know.
girl. Do you guys remember that? Disney
Jesus
movie?
Christ.
Jesus,
Anyways.
it's gender fluid.
Anyways,
No, it's non-binary.
separate tangent. In today, oh fucking Allah.
Xenu can go to
in
whatever bathroom he
today-
wants to, but your turn.
In today's American secularism, it just gets so much messier than Christianity ever does. Just because of some of the interpretations of not only the Quran but also the Hadith, Sharia's, okay, for instance, Sharia says a Muslim man can marry an infant and consummate the marriage when she is 9 years old.
Oh yeah, that brings me to
When-
another point. When
yeah, when
Allah
in
married
America-
Aisha or Aisha, something like that, married when they were 6 and consummated when she was 10.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, in America,
Feminism.
we're like, whoa, that's can't bone a minor. Come on now.
We're talking
child
about a book
exploitation.
from a man that boned a minor. Would we be reading a
Moan-
religion?
he moaned a
again,
minor.
Would
have
we
to
be
take-
talking about a religious book from Jared Vogel? Would we?
If I may, you have to take in historical context when you're talking about this. So you're looking at a time where
Okay.
there was a shorter lifespan, when it was
the
typical
debate,
to marry
the
off the
debate.
girl
The book's
at
written
about-
by a dude that boned a minor.
Literally,
Okay,
the question
what
is
we
about.
now consider a minor
Okay.
means to marry off 10-year-olds in Europe.
Okay, we're talking about modern day secularism. History has nothing to do
Okay.
with.
I would
Okay,
say
it has
modern
everything to do with the present.
Yes,
But-
from my cultural perspective in America, yeah, that's pretty messed up. I'm sorry, but that's wrong, and I don't agree with it.
Mhm.
But again, going back to perspectives, I don't like it. I don't agree with it. But I also can't say that there's an objective morality within that, if that makes any sense.
What the fuck? You're saying it's okay to
Bone
I'm-
minors.
they can
I'm
consummate at
not-
9 years old because
I'm not
Says they
saying
can.
that it's okay. I don't like it. I don't think that it's good.
It's not morally objectively wrong. It's not objectively morally wrong. Boning minors is a-okay.
No, it weirds me out. But
I thought you said we couldn't say it's moral. It's objectively
can we
morally
really-
wrong.
Can we really claim an objective stance within that?
Yes,
You know, from-
boning
Yes.
minors is wrong.
yes.
We were very clearly raised in an environment where yes, that is
Once
wrong.
you hit
Therefore,
puberty,
it's
that's
wrong.
at least somewhat where you can kind of do it. It's a 10-year-old. It's not even. It didn't even hit
Jesus
puberty.
Christ, there are kids older than that, that are still facing like day in and day out sex trafficking, child exploitation. You know, kids 14, 15 years old, and we frown upon that. You know, kids getting sexually active in middle school, and we're like, whoa, we don't even like it when you do it with someone your own age.
And it's 14, 15, and
And-
16 at that point. Not
You're-
16, but 15.
Here comes a dude with like a full-grown beard longer than the actual child he's about to take into his bed, And
No, I think
that's
it's
okay.
awful.
We can't take an
I think it's
objective
awful. I
stance
think
on
it's
that.
Can we
awful.
take an
It's
objective
horrible.
stance on boning children is wrong?
Okay, can I just say, I think every religion and every culture has
Every
to go
religion
through,
has boning children.
every religion
Hold on,
and
let her
every
finish.
culture has to go through what Islam is through right now. Some sort of internal conflict where the rest of the world is looking at it and saying that is not okay. And yes, we agree that that's not okay. And I entirely agree that do I like it? No. Is it also my place to interfere with that? No, because it's not going to make it better.
Whoa.
Listen.
So,
Whoa!
At this point, it's an internal conflict that they need to work out for themselves. If you look in the past, I know you guys say historically things don't matter, but I'm sorry, but they do. We see in the past where we're marrying children off to men, and that's in Christianity. That's in these.
But they're at
religions
least
we
of
go
age.
through.
Like, I'm never gonna condone that, but they're at least of age. They're at least over 18.
No, not in the past, not historically. I'm saying
Yes, historically in the past. At
Listen.
least God and Jesus did not proclaim that it is okay to bone someone that is a minor. They never did it.
You realize they married girls off when they were like 11.
That's not in the
Right?
book.
You
That's not in the
realize
book. That's
people-
not written by a
you
man.
realize-
Consummate that relationship.
Did Abraham who
What I'm
wrote
getting at-
hold on,
what
hold
I'm
on. Did
getting at
Abraham
right
who
now
wrote
is that-
Genesis, did Abraham who wrote Genesis, did he bone a girl? Did Moses who wrote Exodus, did he bone a girl? No one that has wrote an actual book in the Bible. No, hold on. Someone
no
that
one
has
ever
actually
said Muhammad boned a girl. I feel like this is going to come off like we're saying their prophet is a child.
I'm
a
saying
kitty
that.
fondler.
I'm
What?
saying that.
When no one is saying that.
I'm saying it.
What I'm saying is that these are all things that have happened in the past.
What-
Yes, they
You
are.
don't have
But Islam is
incriminating
doing that right
evidence
now.
that Muhammad was a little ditty fondler.
She was 10 years old.
Okay, that was also what
We don't have proof that Jesus is alive, but there's books written about him.
that was 1,500 years ago when Christianity was also marrying off 10-year-olds. Now we see
It's
that
not in the
happen.
book. It's not written by someone that wrote in the New Testament or wrote the Old Testament.
Now, in the present, we see that resurfacing, and as a majority, as the world, we can agree that that is wrong. Yes, it's not okay. But again, it's something that we've seen people go through in the past, and it's something that they will get out of because everyone has gotten past it. Now, we can do the best that we can to
And help them
get out
not
of it,
believe
but
in
we
that
can't.
book so they get out of it.
Okay. No, we can't try.
We can't force our ideas.
I'm not going to
upon the
force my
people.
ideas, but I'm saying if that's what you want, then that's what's going to have to happen.
But the thing is, it doesn't matter what I want. I'm not those people. And I can't force my decisions and my beliefs and my moralities upon them. And that's where I'm coming at from the objective stance. Subjectively, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. But from a cultural objective stance, I also cannot force my subjective, my culture, what I've been raised to believe is wrong upon those people. That's something that I can't justify in my mind and by myself, no matter how disgusting I find it, no matter how disgusting you guys find it. And even if you guys think you've got me in a hole right now, honestly, you probably do. But what I'm getting at right now is that we can't begin to comprehend the perception of these people and the environment surrounding them. And we can't force our ideas of age upon them because it honestly, in the mind of these radical fundamentalists, that doesn't exist. That doesn't matter. And they've made that very clear. So what point is there in arguing that point against them when they're like, yeah, I do it, and yeah, it's okay? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think this is a good time to transition into the next question of whether or not Islam is a progressive religion.
No.
Not currently.
No, not
Okay,
historically
so
or
we can all
currently.
agree on this. We can
Let
all
me-
agree on this.
Let
No.
me rephrase. Depends on which part of the world. Middle East, not currently.
Actual
where
Islam.
it's
Actual
Muslim majority.
Islam.
Actual Islam. See,
Hold on, while she's
Oh, no.
doing that, hold on.
Are you looking for an answer because you're afraid you might actually agree with other people?
Hold on, while she is doing that, I do have on the previous question, I do have an analogy. Well, actually, I have a point. we get called xenophobic when we don't want other people's immigrants or anything like that, or we don't get involved with other people's affairs. But when we do get involved with other people's affairs, we're told to stay out of it, and it's not our culture. I find that very hypocritical. I feel like we should like Hitler and the Nazis. Like
That sounds like a band.
Hitler and the Nazis. No, but Hitler and the
Horrible.
Nazis, he started taking over other countries and forcing his culture, his political belief, his I believe they had no religion. They forcing his non-religious rule on there, forcing where you couldn't believe in a religion. I think Christianity and all that stuff was included in there. But we came in there and helped stop it. Would you argue that we shouldn't have done that? Like, we shouldn't have stopped Nazism?
We didn't even know the Holocaust was real. We didn't know that was a thing. Like, to be fair, so
Yes, but they were
So from
taking
the
over other
perspective-
countries and forcing their non-religious rule on them. That's something we did know.
well, when you're taking over other countries and you're disrupting world order and you're actually
What do you
causing
think
a lot of
Islam's
harm.
doing when they're going into Germany, disrupting
It's
world
not
order, when
Islam.
crime is increasing, when rapes are
Thanks for saying
increasing?
that. I'm sorry, but the religion is not waging a
No, it's
Uh,
not raging. It's not waging
government
it's not waging a
radicalized
universal
group.
religion. It's not.
It is not Islam. Okay, it's not Islam. It's states. Like,
What?
I can't reiterate that enough. Islam is not waging war. States.
No, yeah, I'm not claiming it is, but when people are going in there and forcing their beliefs, when they're forcing sex on the people, which is called rape, when they're doing that,
Oh,
that's
thank you
forcing
for
their
telling me
beliefs
what
onto
rape
them,
was.
forcing their culture, similar, kind of taking over the country, kind of, not entirely.
No.
Shouldn't we stop that when they are spreading and taking over countries and spreading their rule?
They're
Islam
not
is
taking
the
over
fastest
countries.
growing
They're
religion in
spreading
the
their
world,
beliefs.
and it's going to
They're
keep growing and it's going to keep spreading.
Let's reel back into the original question
Also,
here. Is it progressive?
Let me just say, can I finish what I'm trying to get across? Rape is not individual to Islam. It is not something that only Islam inflicts upon people. It's something that all people, all religions, all males inflict upon women. And yes, it is
Also
sensitive
women
out of
undepend-
appearance, but it's
onto
not
men.
forcing your culture or your religion on someone. It's forcing your dominance upon someone. And I'm sorry, but that is not singular to a religion. That's not spreading your
Hold on,
ideals.
hold on.
Okay, but the fact that
hold on.
Islam does not help these women who have been raped, degraded, the fact that Sharia states that a woman who has been raped cannot testify in court against her rapists, multiple, is appalling.
It's in
yes.
the Hadith
Yeah.
where angels curse the
Okay,
disobedient
but again,
wife. No,
not-
listen.
not all Islam.
If
No,
a husband
listen,
calls his
I-
wife to
you
bed and she
literally-
refuses and
you-
causes him to sleep in anger, the angels will curse him in the morning. That is why that law exists. Where
You
it is
have
not
said
rape
this
if a married
before.
man
I've heard
sleeps with you and
already-
forces it.
Okay, please tell me more about something I already listened to you say. I'd love to hear.
But you're not
But I'm too
listening.
Stupid to understand it the first time.
You
No,
keep talking
you're
while
not.
I'm trying to talk and put in a point.
Not all of Islam. Sorry, Nick.
Jesus
Not all of
Christ.
Islam practices that, and not all states inflict that, and not all Muslim people are like that. Okay. It
It's
is a
from the
certain group of
book.
people, a certain radicalism. It is in a book that not everyone follows. It is part of it.
But Islam is that book!
Not everyone
It's
is-
that book!
You know what?
The Hadith and the Quran are
You're
are
right.
binded together.
Every single Muslim in the world is like, huh, if a woman is raped, she needs full.
No, not everyone, because not all of them believe the book to a teeth.
Exactly.
Okay,
Because Islam is the book. Islam is the book. We're talking about Islam, the book.
at the core, yeah, we are talking about Islam. It's like if we're talking about Christianity.
We're talking
we
about the
can't-
book.
We can't just talk about the Westboro Baptist, and say this is our interpretation of Christianity. Just like we can't talk about, these people that don't follow the actual preachings of Muhammad, the Quran, and say this is what actual Islam is. Actual Islam, actual Christianity, any religion boils down to the writing, down to the scripture, down to the actual teachings. And
The
that's what we're here
written
to
words
debate.
on the page.
We're not here to debate someone's interpretation of it. We're not here to debate, Muslims like Linda Sarsour, who aren't
Born in a Western
actual-
world. Born and
aren't
raised in Brooklyn.
actual
Oh,
Muslims.
You mean the Muslims that Deplorable approves of? Yeah. Okay.
Or the Muslims that don't actually believe barely a word of what's in their book.
Yeah, we're here to debate the actual teachings of Islam, the actual teachings of Muhammad, the Hadith, Sharia's law, all of that. Okay, we're not here to debate modern day Muslims, because modern day Muslims, to be frank, are not Muslims.
Then why
boils
is it that when I try to bring up historical Muslims and historical Muslim population, do you guys tell me that history doesn't matter?
No, because no, we're not saying that. They didn't follow their book. That's what we're saying. They didn't follow their book.
Most of the Muslims of the entirety of the religion's existence apparently have not followed their book. Then I'm
Yes.
saying,
But
culturally,
when
in
during
the past-
Muhammad's time they followed their book, and then when his prophets they followed their book, it's gotten off track. That's what happens with religion. It'll get back on track eventually, like we're seeing now.
but it's not back on track because it hasn't been this way. Never has it been this bad.
They need to change the book
Violence
if that's what you're arguing for.
I'm not arguing for that. I'm saying that Islam has never been as bad as we're seeing it now.
In the beginning, when Muhammad was around, when he was diddling the kids, that's what happened.
Okay, again, not fair. Historically, everyone was diddling the kids, as you say it, back 15 years ago.
If you want to bring up Christianity again, no one in Christianity, in the Old Testament or the New Testament, every chapter is written by a different person. No one, or at least some of them are, but no one that has written a New Testament or an Old Testament book diddled kids. They didn't. It just didn't happen. Now, there is a strong case that Muhammad, the man who created the entire religion, there wasn't multiple people that wrote different sections of the book. He created the religion. The Hadith is sayings from Muhammad. The Quran is written by Muhammad. He diddled kids. No one in the Old Testament or the New Testament who actually wrote a chapter of that book did anything like that. If we want to compare religions, yes, there's Christians that probably did that. But it wasn't ever outlined in the book to do that. It wasn't ever done by someone in the book. That's my point.
I mean, you look at actual, like, biblical times, though, and people were married off at the age of 8 and 9.
Yes, but that's not in the book. That wasn't committed by someone that actually wrote in the book. I'm not going to condone that.
Rebecca was 3 years old when she married Isaac.
Okay,
Mary
Isaac
was 12
didn't
years
write
old.
Genesis. Isaac didn't write Genesis.
Mary
No,
was
Isaac
12
is
years
just one
old
of
when
the
she married
biggest-
Joseph.
Isaac is just one of the biggest
Joseph
figures.
didn't write
And-
didn't write Genesis. That's when it happened.
No,
Those
he's just
were
one of the
historical
biggest-
accounts. They're
No,
not.
he's
only
just
one of
the
the biggest figures
he's
and one
just
of
the father
biggest-
of the penultimate God to all of Christianity.
God doesn't condone it. No,
And again,
Genesis was written
God
by
doesn't
Abraham.
condone it.
Genesis
He
was
put-
written by
he put
Abraham.
his-
Isaac
God
is
doesn't
one of the
condone it. He put
biggest
his
figures in the
child
Old Testament.
in the wife of this man, and you're saying he doesn't condone it.
If you want to talk about Christianity, there's free will for a reason. There's free will for a reason.
Also,
I'm not going to condone what they
Isaac
did.
is
I'm
one
not
of-
condoning what they did. But no
Also,
one.
Can you even tell me who wrote Genesis? Can you tell me?
Abraham.
Who wrote...
Abraham wrote Genesis. That I can tell you right now who wrote Genesis.
Okay,
Abraham did.
Abraham's son- Abraham married his son off to a 3-year-old. That I can tell you factually.
He didn't do it himself. How can you tell me that factually, though?
Okay.
How can you
come
tell me
on
that
now.
factually? Hold on, no, hold
are you
on.
kidding me?
How can you tell me that factually? How can you tell me that factually?
How can you tell me Muhammad married a
In the
6-year-old
book.
factually?
Literally, it's in the book.
I'm
He
saying
married
there's strong
Rebecca
evidence
when
for
Rebecca
it,
was
but I
3.
want to know
And
where
that's
is
all
your
she's
case?
saying is there is strong evidence for it. Listen, just
I'm
because
saying in
someone
the ancient world, that's how the
refutes
ancient
your
world
point with something you've been cramming down their throat,
Then
and
I'm
they're
not.
actually
Then no.
right
Then I'm
about
not
it,
gonna. I'm
doesn't
going to
mean
condemn
just
that.
yell louder
Unlike,
and
hold
allow
on,
them
hold
to finish
on.
their argument.
Hold
What do you
on.
mean, hold on? I was the one talking. If anyone needs to hold on, it's you.
Okay, go.
Like, I finished.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Islam and Christianity. There's a retcon for the Old Testament. It's called the New Testament.
Uh-huh.
That's all I have to say. Like,
How do you account for Judaism then?
Jesus preaches against the old laws of the Old Testament. He
How
says
do you
not to
account
follow
for
them. All that
Judaism?
stuff.
Hmm?
He says not to follow the old laws of the Old Testament.
How do you account for Judaism then?
But that I'm not a Jew, so okay, then Jews are wrong too. We're not having a Jew, whether is Judaism a bad religion. I'm just defending Christianity here.
Let's look at the beginning of the New Testament and the birth of Jesus, who was birthed from a mother who was he was put in by Immaculate Conception to someone who at the time she was 12 married a 90-year-old carpenter, and God said,
I would like to fact check that just real quick.
Okay,
Joseph was
read the book.
Dead by the time that Jesus did actually die. We can see that because he isn't mentioned. Anyways,
going on. God was like,
Some critical accounts state at the time of her betrothal to Joseph, Mary was 12 to 14 years old, and he was 90 years old, but such accounts are unreliable.
Okay, any accounts from thousands of years ago are gonna be unreliable at best.
But what I'm arguing is that the New Testament was not written by Mary and Joseph. Yes, he put her in there, but he's not. But he's not a man. That's divine. That's divine conception.
The biggest figures. It doesn't matter who wrote them. No one knows who wrote the book. No one cares who wrote the book.
Why are we harping on Christianity when this is a Islam? We can have a conversation about Christianity.
Can I just say?
No, we're bringing it up in reference because
we don't regard the people who wrote the New Testament books as figureheads of Christianity. We regard the characters within those books as figureheads of Christianity, meaning the Holy Family, meaning Abraham, meaning Isaac.
But so, when you get it, that's iffy about it at that point. God isn't a man. God isn't a man. If Jesus did it, yes, I would say, okay, you have a point. Because Jesus is the physical representation. He just put a baby in her. He didn't force himself. I don't know. That's just a weird argument to have at that point.
No, the entire argument is that it happens on both sides. Okay, yeah, Muhammad had a 6-year-old wife at one point when what was he, like 57 when they got married?
Yes, and I'm
50, something like that. The entire point is, like, it's happening all over. It was happening in
Then
Islam.
I'm gonna condemn it. Okay, that's like divine intervention. That's weird for me to debate and discuss because I have my own feelings about that. That's kind of hard to put into words. That's divine intervention, but I'm not gonna say that it's good that he put it at 12 to 14 years old because you can't really classify an age on God, but you can classify an age on Muhammad.
Okay, well then go back to Abraham then, who married his son off to a 3.
I'm not gonna justify that.
And can I just say what I'm getting at within that is basically that all of these other religions, the other Abrahamic religions, they grew out of it. All right, they adapted to the modern world, and Islam did too. At a point, they had adapted. They were there. They weren't practicing this, and it wasn't until recently that we're seeing all of this come up anew and come up again. So I would say culturally, within empires, within thousands of years of progression, yes, Islam has been progressive. It wasn't until recently when falling back to their fundamentalist ideals, when obviously you go back to conservative ideas, no, you're not progressive at that point. But the entire idea behind progression is that you grow past fundamentalist ideas and from a base text of conservative, outdated ideals. So the book represents that conservatism that they grew past to adapt to the world that was growing around them. Just as Christianity.
Okay, hold on. I apologize for that, everyone. We had a technical difficulty, so there's a small cut there. Oh God, what's your name? Caesar. I do have to refute your point real quick. News of Rebecca's birth reached Abraham when he was 85 years old. 15 years before Isaac was born. Isaac was 40 when he married Rebecca. 20 years elapsed before they had children. Throughout that time, both Isaac and Rebecca prayed that doesn't matter. Fervently to God for offspring. Yeah, to God for offspring, but that last sentence doesn't really pertain to my argument. So by that, oh God, I think Rebecca would be. God, what would it be? Rebecca would be older, right? Rebecca would actually be older than Isaac. So he married off his kid to someone that was older. Because if you remember, I don't think you've actually read the Old Testament, or maybe you forget, because they prayed for fertility, which is hold on, I'm trying to make a point here. They prayed for fertility because she was at the age where like her menstrual cycle stopped and all that. So they were praying because she was older. So that
Okay,
Rebecca
well,
thought, do you have to repeat?
Isaac was 37 when Rebecca was born.
What do you mean? No, Rebecca's birth reached Abraham when he was 85 years old, 15 years before Isaac was born.
In biblical
Okay, I'm
times,
reading
people were married at a very young age. Girls were usually betrothed before they reached puberty. Majority of the time, the marriage would have consummated when the girl reached puberty, and that was usually between the ages of 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm. And we got that. I'm reading directly from Genesis here. The life of Sarah was 127 years. This.
Are you saying Sarah?
Okay.
I thought you said Rebecca.
Yeah, no. Keep going. This makes Isaac 37 years old, and at that time Rebecca was born. He waited for her until she would be fit for marital relations, 3 years, and then married her. This is from I don't even know what that is. It says Genesis Rabbah 57:1. Yeah, I'm reading 25:20 as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find what you're finding because
Okay,
I'm
Genesis
definitely
25:20, and it says 40 years old. For when Abraham came from Mount Moriah, he was informed that Rebekah had been born.
We've gotten
Isaac was then 37 years old.
Yeah.
Can you give me hold on. I'm trying to find it one more time. Genesis, the Bible.
25:20.
Anyways, I feel like we've gotten very off topic here.
I want to refute this point because hold on.
I think at this point it's something we can sum up with in our own personal lives at some point. But I mean, for time's sake, we should probably get on.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, the original question was, is Islam a progressive religion? And now we're just debating about.
I made my point. I summed that up a couple minutes ago. So
yeah. Let's just end on a very current event-related note. Do you believe the travel ban was justified?
No. I do.
No.
Okay, we're in agreement there. No.
So I think we ended it off on a happy note.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Well,
all right. Well,
look at that.
Something. It's been real, guys.
We did it.
Can't say it's been fun.
I thought that was arguably fun. I enjoyed that.
It was definitely the most stimulating thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't even remember the word stimulating, for Christ's sake. That's how long I've been out of it.
Surprisingly, I thought I came in here prepared, but I learned a lot of things.
I still disagree on the Rebecca thing, but that's
all right. Well,
all right,
you know that's your own personal choice, and the debate is dead.
Text. It's cool.
Catch us next week where we may or may not.
Yeah, no, you're retarded, but continue.
Whoa, shit.
All right. Well, that's
catch it.
not very PC of you, and I
keep your hate speech out of this podcast.
Catch us next week where we may or may not blow live for you when we debate.
It depends. If you guys would like it live, let us know.
Yeah. As always, make sure to like this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Shameless plug. Follow us on Twitter at Cryptic Heathens.
We also have a Facebook page if you're interested. That will be in the link. That'll be in the description too.
We are a young channel and yearn for your feedback. So make sure to comment down below. You think that the R word is not too PC? Let us know below. Let us know if you agree with any of the stuff we said about Islam or any
Give
of the
us
stuff
your own opinion.
About...
We would like to have a conversation in the comments. We actually openly encourage dissension and disagreement and debate.
Yeah.
Well, we'll catch you Friday with our first reactionary video coming at you. That should be interesting.
The word reactionary makes me sad.
Because you are.
It's about that time. See you guys. Thanks for watching.